how's it going? Welcome back. We are going to do build 3. Build 3. And we're going to do it in a subtractive way. This one's interesting because there's some additional pieces. Chamfers and fillets. These are the chamfers. These are the fillets. There's no tool for chamfer or fillet in Tinkercad, so we get to talk about the fundamental geometries. This build is in millimeters, so we're going to make sure we're good to go. 200 by 200 feels good to me. 1 mil snaps would be good. All right, so let's start. I'm going to build this one in red. And I'm going to make sure that I am in orthographic view. And I'm going to get that into a corner. Oh, come on. Good. All right. We're going to get it into a corner. You can use arrow keys on your keyboard. And they go move by the number, the size of the snap. So every time I go to the right, it goes 1 millimeter because that's the size of the snap. I'll be using that a bunch today. Okay. So I'm going to build this solid shape and then we'll cut some pieces away. 50 by 100 by 65. So let's go 50. Then we can zoom out. And then we'll go 100. And then we'll rotate. And then we're going to go up to 65. All right. So out of that building block, I'm going to cut a bunch of pieces. And what I'm going to do is cut away right now that sort of whole piece that's in there. I'm going to worry about the rounded edges and stuff in a bit. So let's take a box and let's figure out how far it is. So it needs to go from here, not to 50, but 15 back from 50. So I think that puts it at 35. And then the distance from here to here, and you know what? I think it makes more sense if I'm actually building. I'm going to go top down. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to delete that piece that I just made. I'm going to go backwards. And I'm going to put a work plane on the top of this object. So I think that's going to make the snapping stuff that I'm doing make a little bit more sense. So just organizing my grid, making sure I'm on a major grid line. And I am. Okay. Now let's rotate our view here. All right. I'm going to cut this bottom piece out. We'll put a box on the work plane. That's really a lot more helpful. This needs to go 35 inches from here to here. That leaves us, or excuse me, millimeters. That leaves us 15 millimeters all the way across because it's 55. And then what is this depth? It looks like it's 15 plus 15. So I'll make this 30. Good. And we're going to duplicate and move that here. That's a couple holes. And then there's this small piece in front that I need to add. So I'm going to put another box in here. Move it all the way across. And then it only needs to be 4 millimeters wide. And I know that because of this measurement right here. From the back all the way to this front edge is 46 millimeters. So 46 plus 4 gets us the 50 all the way across. So I'm going to take 1, 2, 3. I'm holding shift to select those. I'm going to group those. And then if you grab this and go down, it's going to shrink. Watch what happens when I get past 0. See how it flips? Now it's measuring in the other direction. So from the top surface at 0, I need to go down 50. How do I know that? It actually is 65 minus 15, and that's 50. So I've got that selected. I'm going to hold shift and select the solid and group those. And I've cut away a bunch of that. And it's starting to take shape. Oh, also, accidentally a second ago, I hit a key I always forget about. It's F on the keyboard. Watch what happens. Fit to view. That's pretty slick. I should be using that more often. All right. So let's see. What do I want to do next? I think what I'm going to do is probably the chamfers. So we'll go here. We'll go here. We'll drag to a major grid line. Doesn't really matter which is which. It does matter which is which. So I want to move in. I'll show you what I mean here in a second. I put the red corner on a major grid line, not this blue corner, this negative space, because I want to measure in from there this distance, which it looks like the distance from here to here for these holes is 15. So let's do that. Let's build a jig. I'm going to make it a different color so it's easier to see. And I need to know where the center of that circle should be. So it looks like it's down 15 and in 15. I don't want to move it. I want to resize it. 15 by 15. It's a jig, so I'm just using this bottom corner to tell me where to put that hole. So the center of the circle, I'm going to zoom in to make sure that I did it. It does not look quite right. The center of the circle is on the corner of that jig. That looks good. And these are 10 millimeters. So I'm going to hold Option and drag and wiggle it until it's 10 by 10. And then I'm going to do the other piece of the geometry right now. So I'm going to get my jig out of there. And then I'm going to grab a wedge. I'm going to resize this wedge because it says all chamfers are 45 degree 15 by 15. So I'm going to resize this to being a wedge that's 15 in every direction. And then I'm going to start doing some rotation. We'll go that way. And then that way. See, I always do this the long way and then that way. Let's make it a hole. Let's go back and then we'll shift it into place. All right, so I've got two negatives. I got this one, excuse me, two holes, this one and this one. Select them, group them. Then let's pull them back through the object. Select the object and group. And I have done two more things on my object. Let's reset the work plane. I sliced through the hole and I did that chamfer, which is great. So I think I'm done working on that face. I'll need to shift to this face to do this interesting cut. And then I'll have to work on some chamfers and some other pieces. So let's do this. Let's put a work plane on that face. Let's get in the corner on a major grid line. It's hard to see with these millimeters because they're so teeny. All right, so here's my game. Let's take another jig. It's just a plain old cube at this point. And then we're going to use it to make a measurement. So it looks like we need to come to the center of a circle, this complex shape, which is 25 up from the base. So let's go, here's the base. Let's come up a distance of 25. That gets us up far enough. Now we need to get over in the center, which it looks like we're 20 across, and all the way across is 40. So it looks like we were actually in the right spot. So this corner of my jig now gives me the center of my circle, which has a radius of 12. So we'll put my circle in. Let's get this to a radius of 12. When I said radius, I lied. Diameter of 12. Good. Now we need the rest of that complex shape. Come on, good job. And I'm going to build it with a box. Hold Option and drag it in so it's 12 across and drag it up. Now I can make a complex hole. So I'm going to group that rectangular prism with that cylinder. Then I'm going to take them and drag them through the object, group, and that's gone. Oh, but look at that. See, I was getting confused with myself. I said radius because it was radius. No problem. Dealing with the parametric 3D modeler, we can go backwards. There's one, there's two, There's 3. Let's go ahead and make this now. It has a radius of 12, which means it has a diameter of 24. Nice, that feels better. Let's drop another box in there. It's a little bit off center. Hold Option and move it. That looks better. Select to group the whole. Select the object to group. And what did I do? I cut nothing. So let's try this again. We got to go through the object to cut our hole. Love it. All right, and then there's that jig hanging out there that I don't need anymore, so that's gone. Looking good. All right, so I think what's left to do are the circles. I did that last time too. That's funny. It's a right-click option. This is what happens when I get excited. All right, so there's a couple holes to drop in here, which we need to do, but we're also going to need to do these chamfered edge or these fillets, which we'll work on. And then there's these. So I'm going to show you how we do the fillets by working on these pieces, and then we'll move to the base to do those fillets and pop those holes in. So work plane on this surface. Drag into a corner for major grid lines. Okay. So we're going to do this in a 2-step operation. First thing we're going to do is just slice off the corner. And there's a couple ways to do this. You've seen me do it with the wedge. I'm going to experiment and see if I can make this happen more easily. I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees to slice off a corner. Now, here's the question. Where does that corner go? I think it has to go to 15. So that looks right, but I don't know if it's right. So let's make a jig and tell ourselves if this is correct. So we've got to be 15 by 15. So yeah, we tricked ourselves. Look at that. It's not quite big enough. I need my hole to be here, but look what happens when I do that. Now it's not big enough in that direction. So what happens if I go... See, I think I already screwed it up. I think I already screwed it up, y'all. We're going to see if we can fix this. Yep, I don't like it. I don't like it. Let's try again. I don't want to give up on this box idea, because if this works, this is going to save me a lot of time. All right. That would be fun to be able to say, just put that right in that corner. But look, it doesn't cross in the right corner. All right, I'm giving up. I'm giving up. I'm doing it the way that I know works. Sorry for taking a minute to experiment there. All right, so let's resize our wedge to being 15 in all dimensions. Well, outer dimensions. Then let's do some rotation. Nope, not that rotation. That rotation. And then, oh no, where's the other one? That rotation. Good. Make sure it's a hole. Let's go back so we can actually see our surface. Love it. So I know it's supposed to be rounded, but in Tinkercad, you have to do it into pieces. So the first thing you got to do is you got to cut it like it's a fillet. Come on. You got it, Tinkercad. I believe in you. You got this. Oh, it's not happy with me right now. There it is. Good job, Tinkercad. And we got to relabel this. This is build 3. And then we're going to go fit to view. Let's put our work plane back and let's drop this. Okay. So those are supposed to be rounded. These aren't rounded. That's okay. Just takes one more step. So we're going to put a work plane on here. We're going to put this thing where it goes. And then all we're going to do is drop a couple cylinders in there. Because really that's all this fillet is. It's just a chamfer plus 1/4 of a circle. We just got to make sure we get the radius of that circle correct. So obviously that's wrong. What clues do we have from the fillet? There it is, radius 15 millimeters. So they get a radius of this outside corner. That's true for 1, 2, 3, and 4 of these. So what we really need is a diameter of 30. Going to 30 in that direction and 30 in that direction. Love it. Increase the number of segments to make it look pretty. Let's make it red so it matches. And now we just got to slide it in place. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to copy this to the other side, and then I'll show you how I resize this. So duplicate, move, make sure it's in the right spot. And this is where arrow keys can be really helpful, using those snaps. Yeah, that looks good. Problem is it's not part of the object. So we're going to take 1, hold shift, take 2, and we're going to do this invert thing, right? So we make it really skinny, and then all of a sudden we make it flip in the other direction. Notice how I went to exactly 15. Okay. So right now we've done something that's impossible. We've taken a physical solid shape and pushed it through a solid shape. But when you're 3D modeling, you can do things that are impossible like this. So while I still have those 2 circles selected, I'm going to hold shift and select the main object. And now I'm going to group into a new solid piece. So there you have it. I have my fillets. Looks good. Let's put this back on the center of that board-ish. The center-ish. Good, I like it. Okay, so all we have to do now is do the same process on the bottom and drop in a couple circle holes. So let's do that. Major grid lines. Arrow keys are my friend. Love it. Oh, did you see what I did? Look what I did. Look. That one's in the wrong spot. We got to go backwards and undo that. I got a little bump out over there. Should have been using my arrow keys. All right, that one's in the right spot, but this one needs to come over one little nudge. All right, so circle, hold shift, main body, hold shift, circle, group. All right, all is well. That looks correct now. All right, where were we? We were putting a work plane on that surface. Looks good to me. All right, let's use our wedge. First to make some chamfers, then we'll make some fillets. It probably drives you crazy watching me do this the long way. And if it does, I'm sorry. But that works for me. Okay, that's the wrong size though. It should be 15. Good. Put that one there. Duplicate, mirror, flip, move. Bam. Getting fast. Love it. All right, so 1, hold shift, 2, drag through the object, hold shift and group. And we got some chamfers. All right, so we're going to keep that same work plane where it's at and do 2 things. We're going to drop some more of these cylinders in here. Make them red so they're pretty and they match. They need to have that 30-inch diameter and be in the correct place. That one looks good. Duplicate that one, shift it in place. I'm going to be a little more careful this time. Make sure that it looks right, top and bottom. All right, 1, 2, resize down 15. Hold shift to group. All right, so we have our fillets done. The last thing are these 2 holes, and we're finished. Using the same work plane, we need to come in 15 and 15, so let's make a jig. That's going to be 15 by 15. Oh boy. Grabbed the wrong part. 15 by 15, love it. There's my corner. That tells me where the center of that circle goes. If I did that right, did I do that right? In 15 that direction. And in 15 that direction, yeah. So 15 there and 15 there, that looks good. All right, let's drop a cylinder in there. And it needs to have a 12 millimeter diameter. So these can be smaller. 12. Good. Now I'm going to say 1, shift 2. I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to flip. And I'm going to drag. So in a couple quick motions there, I moved the jigs and the circles. Excuse me, the cylinders. Now I can get rid of my jigs, as long as I use them correctly to line things up. Hold shift, hold shift, hold shift, and we're done. Build 3 is finished. Nice job, build 3, way to go.